Fucking lunchbox guy, for Christ's sake. I died mid-elbow. I should clip that, but I'm not going to. Actually, you know what? Fuck it, I will clip that. Hey agents, and welcome to another build video for the Division 2. I'm Todd on High, and today I'm briefly showcasing a hybrid setup that prioritizes both doing gun damage and skill damage, in addition to bringing along some significant team buffs. Let's get into it. Right off the bat, I'll say that this build is for back row players who don't mind sticking to cover, as none of your buffs will be up while you're running and gunning. It provides some versatility while bringing along a lot of comfortable and familiar elements, but it is not the most speedrun friendly build. I call this build Highlands Ranch because it has 303 core stats and shares that with my Denver build highlighted in my Title Update 11 build showcase. I love this build for general PvE play and for farming challenging missions or summit, especially in groups. Similar to my Anchor build, the Highlands Ranch build relies on the gear talents of Overwatch and Composure, though the latter could easily be switched out for combined arms if you prefer, and also leans on the Coyote Mask. Your primary weapon needs the In Sync talent, whether you use a Harmony or Test Subject or, like me, try some of the low RPM assault rifles like the ACRE to mix it up a bit. This setup is a true hybrid, as in, you get to use skills like a skill build, not to mention two of the best skills in the game, but you also do respectable gun damage like a DPS build. One of the best things about this build is its versatility. You can achieve this setup using a variety of brand set pieces with very little waste. A 3-piece Empress set is a simple place to start, and for your red pieces, the 1-piece bonuses from Cheska, Grupo Sombra, and the weapon type damage sets like Fenris or Overlord work great. Even Providence is a fine choice here in a way, though we're not necessarily trying to stack headshot damage. Once again, this is a build that I try to create on all my characters, so it looks slightly different from one to another, and that's fine because there is no one best way to do this. I already mentioned the core stats are 303, and for your substats you will want to split between skill damage and either crit chance up to around 55% or crit damage, while keeping your crit damage around 2x your crit chance. You'll want to avoid gear set pieces here and stick with brand sets. With your Overwatch and Composure buffs up, plus In Sync, you'll be doing a lot of damage, and as long as you stay in cover, including cover-to-cover moves, so will your teammates. It's fine to avoid skill haste on this build because even without any haste, your turret and drone will only have about a 20-second cooldown, and those bonuses and stats are better used for increasing damage. Plus, since you can now pick up your turret, you don't need to be as creative with your turret placement spots. Don't bother wasting your time on any blue stats or repair skills, those will only rob you of more damage. Now, if you don't have a Coyote Mask or would rather use something like the Waveform holster, that is totally up to you, but the buff from the mask alongside Overwatch is great for helping your squad do more damage overall, so it's the more team-friendly approach. Another piece of the build is running the Gunner spec, not just for the ammo refill and armor on kill, but also for the Riot Foam grenade, which brings a small amount of crowd control. This build has a little bit of everything, but it's got the buffs where it counts. Overall damage. As mentioned, I love to run this build with the lower RPM assault rifles like the ACRE or MK17, that I typically avoid in favor of the G36 or FAMAS, and I try to get as many headshots as possible. The Gunner's slight RPM buff on kill makes these otherwise bland weapons a lot of fun. For my backup, I typically bring a Stoner Lamg with Strained to make short work of heavy gunners or other high armor enemies. The balance of deploying skills, targeting enemies, staying in cover, high crits, and doing serious gun damage definitely keeps me entertained on this build for long sessions. If you enjoy staying in cover in this cover-based shooter, give Highlands Ranch a chance and see what you think. If you have any questions about the build or spot any major errors, please do let me know, and definitely circle back with a comment if you try this build out. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy this sort of content, please do drop a like and subscribe. Good luck out there, agents, and may your loot drops be plentiful. Cheers.